Welcome back to Philosophical Fall Guy. Today we're going for a ride because we have one of the top, if not the top stunt drivers in the business.
Upside down, jumped a General Lee over a semi-truck, went straight to ER, cause I pushed my luck. Did stunts for crews and sliced alone, but they say they did them on their own. I make flicks with Howard, Crow, Rue, and Lee, and that's right, I'm the one who jumped at General Lee.
According to IMDb, he has 148 stunt credits, 2 producer credits, 3 second unit director credits, 20 actor credits, 8 director credits, 4 writer credits, along with a few more additional crew credits. As for awards, he has 3 wins and 7 nominations. He was nominated for Outstanding Performance by a Stunt Ensemble for Transformers: Dark of the Moon. He was nominated for 6 World Tourist Awards, including Best Work with a Vehicle in Get Carter, Showtime, Taxi, Deja Vu, The Hitcher, and Killers. He then went on to win 3 World Tourist Awards, one for Best Work with a Vehicle in Date Night, and another for the same category in Fast Five, and then 1 World Tourist Award for Best Specialty Stunt in Taxi. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to have the incredibly talented Corey Eubanks on the show. Corey, thank you so much for being here, brother. It's truly a privilege, man.
Well, it's an honor to be here. Thank you, and very flattering that you sit there like that and lie about me. Say all these great things.
It's on the
I'm
internet.
like,
It's on the internet. It's got to be true, right?
yeah. Yeah, it's got to be true. I'm like, who's he talking about?
Well, it's funny because this is kind of unexpected because we just happened to meet each other on a fitting for a show this week, and I told you about the show, and you graciously agreed to be on it. So,
absolutely, it's about helping others, right?
What's that?
I said it's about helping others.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So the people I've had on the show so far, I know personally, so I kind of, have this idea of their life and things, but you and I have never really met personally, so this is kind of our first time to even really get to know each other.
That's very true.
Yeah. So, but I did do a little research, so I discovered about your dad. So would you mind telling me who he was and what he did?
Well, he's still with us, actually, and he's actually my stepdad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Bob Eubanks.
Bob Eubanks.
It was very interesting growing up in my household because I had 2 dads. If you could like kind of wrap your head around that, it was interesting. My biological father, Mickey Brown.
Okay.
I was born Corey Michael Brown.
Okay.
And my father, Mickey, and Bob Eubanks went into business together. They formed a concert company called Concert Express.
Wow.
Because Bob was a radio disc jockey. He was the #1 radio disc jockey in Los Angeles on a channel called KRLA. Wow. Actually has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
That's
Not for doing the Newlywed Game for 23 years.
It was for the radio show?
For the radio show, for being the #1 radio disc jockey.
Huh.
And so Mickey and Bob and my mom, they started this concert company, and the thing that I love to kind of not, it's like trivia. Like, hey, did you know that? Yeah, your dad did the Newlywed Game. I go, yeah, but did you know that he produced the very first Beatles concert ever in the United States?
That is so crazy.
At the Hollywood Bowl, 1964.
That's a piece of history, man.
Yeah,
Wow.
and in 64, then 65, and then 65, I think that it was at Dodger Stadium. But he also produced the Rolling Stones and Beach Boys in Chicago and Fleetwood Mac. Anyway, managed Merle Haggard, and his true love was country music. And so that's where you know, my childhood really is so much around music was because of my father, because of Bob. But when I was 7 years old, Mickey came home, looked across the room, and goes, Corey's brother and sister don't look anything like him. They look like Bob. Wow. So went and had a conversation down the hallway, and long story short, door slammed, he's gone. And Bob came in and said, "Hey, I'm gonna marry your mom."
Wow.
And raised us. And then when I was going to get, because I was really Mickey's son, biological son. But
You were really his son.
Yes. But the other two, my brother and sister, were Bob's kids, unbeknownst to all of us.
So he had it reversed? Your dad, Mickey?
Mickey thought all three of us were his.
He thought all three were yours, but then he said he looked at you and said, "You look different," or something?
No. I looked different from the other two.
From the other two?
Yeah, from Trace and Teresa.
So he thought you were Bob's.
No, he knew I was his.
He knew you. Okay.
I looked just like Mickey.
Oh, I see. So now it's coming together.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The other two didn't look
The
like
other
him.
two.
The other two looked like Bob. So,
Okay. Got it.
which is funny because when sometimes I meet people and they find out that Bob Eubanks is my dad, you know, he adopted me, and they go, "Oh yeah, you look just like Bob." I'm like,
Oh, really?
okay, if that's what you want to think, but you should see my biological father. But he passed. Mickey, he passed away. But so then Bob stepped in and raised us. So I didn't really, I can't say I went without, because, you know, I'm 7 years old. My real father splits, takes off. Bob's there, comes in, marries my mom, raises me. But then when I was going to get married to my first wife, my birth certificate said Corey Michael Brown, and I wanted to get married under Eubanks. So Bob then took me and adopted me.
Awesome. That's
So,
cool.
but he raised me, so I'm a
Yeah.
product of his upbringing. So if I cuss and swear a lot, it's his fault.
I can't imagine, because all I remember is seeing him on the Newlywed Show when
The
I was a kid
Newlywed
growing
Game.
up.
Yeah.
And yeah, man.
But you know, in addition to that, Duke, he did Card Sharks. He did he produced a bunch of TV shows. We produced a film together called Payback. But yeah, his true.
Because he did a lot of acting roles too, right?
What was he in one of the Home Alone movies? He was in one of those.
I saw on there. He one of his first ones was he was on Ozzie and Harriet.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. I think that was like the very first credit on IMDb was Ozzie and Harriet.
Wow. Yeah, he's 86 years old now.
86.
I just flew out to California to visit him a couple weeks ago with my sister, and just to check him out, see how he's doing.
Cool. How's he doing?
Well, he could be doing better.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, he could be doing better. He's forgetting a lot of things, you know, but I guess at that age, that happens to some people.
Yeah.
I kind of worry about that with me, you know, having as many concussions as I've had. I wonder what the effect's going to be with me when I'm his age, so I can't make fun of him right now.
Yeah.
Because I could be worse, you know.
Yeah. I know, right? It's hard to watch though. It's hard. It's hard to see.
Because he's so witty, and he was so. He had,
Yeah.
But the thing that's fun about him is when you meet him, and he turns into Bob Eubanks.
Oh yeah.
He's got that radio voice.
Radio voice.
But around me, he has a completely different voice, you know.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Interesting. My dad wasn't famous, but he was a pastor, and he had the pastor voice, you know.
In front of an audience.
In front of an audience,
Yeah.
or even like when he went calling or something like that, you know, it was that whole kind of different voice and air about him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know all about
So
it.
I kind of know. Yeah. Yeah. So, what did you do before you got into stunts, Corey?
Well, everything from racing bicycle motocross to surfing to hang gliding,
Wow.
riding motorcycles, but my true ambition, my goal, what I was dead set on doing was becoming a professional boxer.
Wow.
I fought in the Junior Olympics, the Diamond Belt, the Golden Gloves, and had 47 amateur bouts. I used to.
Wow.
One of my sparring partners was Frank Stallone, Sylvester Stallone's brother,
Yeah.
and Tony Danza from Taxi. Remember that? And
He was
this
a boxer too, huh?
Pardon me?
Tony Danza was a boxer too, huh?
He had 47 professional fights. Yeah, he was the real deal.
Actually, yeah, I do remember something about that, and I think they brought that into his character on Taxi once or something.
They may have, yeah.
Where he went in and was boxing or something.
I remember I fought at the Olympic Auditorium in Los Angeles, and he came, and I was so nervous. Not about my fight, I was nervous because he was there. Watching me, you know. But yeah, I thought that's what I wanted to be. Roberto Duran. I studied every single one of his fights. I wanted to be the Hands of Stone. I wanted to be him. But it turns out, because I got in a lot of fights when I was going to school, high school, junior high and high school. I got suspended 13 times, expelled twice.
Wow.
And it was all because I was trying, and I didn't know this until I went to my psychiatrist or psychologist, whatever it was. And they said that all I was trying to do was win my father's approval. Because Mickey, when he was an LAPD cop, he fought in the police Olympics.
Oh, really?
He was a boxer.
Wow.
So unbeknownst to me, I thought subconsciously in my mind that, well, if I become a successful boxer, maybe he'll come back. You know, so that was my driving force. It got me up at 4:30 in the morning to go run 6 miles before going to high school. Wow. That was it. I fought at the Left Hook Gym. Ray Notaro was my trainer. Same guy trained Sly for Rocky.
Wow.
Because he was a southpaw as well.
Yeah. Are you a southpaw?
No.
Okay.
But that's where I met Frank, and so yeah, that was my thing. I religiously it was boxing, sparring, and then because Bob, people don't know this, Bob Eubanks was a weekend rodeo cowboy.
I had no idea.
He was a calf roper.
Really?
He was a team roper. When the national finals, the PRCA, Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association.
Wow. Yeah, that's a big one.
He was one of the announcers for the national finals rodeo when it used to be in Oklahoma City.
Okay.
He'd be sitting there in between Larry Mahan and another guy, and so my influence. And when I was a little tiny kid, Bob was always taking me to when he'd go roping and stuff. And there was a place called Paramount Ranch.
Paramount Ranch, yeah.
In Agora, and I'd go there as a little kid, and I'd see Hal Needham and Steve McQueen and Terry Leonard and Billy Burton and all these,
Legends.
Yeah. And they're roping and stuff, and I'd work the stripping shoot, and I'd hear their stunt stories. And I'm like, a stunt man? What's that? I thought they did it for fun. I didn't know that they actually got paid.
They got paid.
Right? I thought these guys do that for fun. But so my influence by Bob was rodeo. So I started I went to Gary LaFew's bull riding school up in Arroyo Grande, learned how to ride bucking bulls and bareback horses. And so I filled my permit and got my PRCA card and rodeoed every single weekend. And I've been on over 800 bucking horses.
Wow.
And over 300 bulls. Wow. And I say been on. That don't mean I rode them.
Yeah.
You know, I got bucked off a lot. But I won a few rodeos. And it was funny because competing against those professional cowboys. I'm 18, 19 years old, but I'm hitting like 40, 50 rodeos a year.
Wow.
But the guys I'm competing against, that's how they made their living. That's how they fed themselves. At the time, I was working on a TV show called The Dukes of Hazzard, and I was getting a steady paycheck every week. So my desire wasn't as strong. They were competing in order to survive.
Right.
I was doing it for the fun
Just
of it.
for fun.
So I got bucked off a lot.
Yeah.
But it's funny how things come around. That experience, that knowledge, that know-how carried over into the film business when I was on Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and I had to ride a bucking bull.
Yeah.
And I had to jump bicycles. I'm like, oh yeah, thank God I did bicycle motocross,
Right. Came in handy.
Yeah.
I mean, this was mechanical bucking bull on Pee-wee's?
No, I rode a real...
It was a real bull?
Yeah, Tom Mitchell had a bucking bull named T.J. Hooker.
T.J. Hooker.
And T.J. Hooker lived up to his name. He would hook you with his horns. Little brindle bull. He's like...
That's the worst part, I think, about bull riding is not the riding it, it's after you're off.
Well,
that's got to be
true.
The scary part, right?
But also if they whip you down and they hit you with their head, like happened, Bodacious did to Tuff Heaterman and smashed his face wide, concaved his face, and or they'll do that. They'll whip you down and then they'll go like trying to scratch their backs with their horns and they'll hook you.
Yeah,
that kind of sucks. And then if you fall down and they step on you, That's
Yeah,
how,
right.
but, and there's been fatalities. Look at Lane Frost, he was killed, by a bull, but
When I was in high school, I thought maybe want to do bull riding. I tried. I think I did maybe 6 times, and I videotaped the last one. And the bull, like, he came around with his horns, like, right. I was on the face. My face was on the ground in the dirt, and it came right over my head. And then his back feet came right over my head. I didn't even know it. Like, and I just watched it. I'm like,
just missed you.
just missed me. And I'm like, I'm not really willing to, like, die for this. It just seemed too risky for me, I guess.
It is.
Yeah.
It's funny, the respect I have for those bull riders, and thank God they're starting to make some good money.
Yeah.
Good for them, because
Right.
back in the day you didn't make money at all.
Yeah.
And they're paying for all of their own travel expenses and their hotels and whatnot. But yeah, it was like, so I go, well, there was, a reason that I rodeoed. I got some fond memories and some good experiences, and it did carry
How many
over
years
into.
did you do that for?
Pardon me?
How many years did you do that for?
9
years.
9 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, until I finally had a bucking horse in Hemet, California, 23 Roni, cotton roster stock. Flipped over in a buck and shoot and broke my collarbone.
Oh, wow.
And I had been working on the Dukes of Hazzard at the time, and I'm like, okay, now it just cost me money.
Yeah.
Because I snapped my collarbone in half and
Right.
couldn't jump the General Lee, and I thought, well, maybe it's time for me just to hang it up and not do the rodeo thing.
Yeah.
But it's funny because so many people just know me as a wheelman because of that doggone TV show, the Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah.
And I've only done like maybe 3 or 4, no, probably 5 or 6 Westerns ever.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, we kind of jumped a little bit there ahead because I wanted to have you talk about Dukes of Hazzard. I know that wasn't the actual first thing you did in the film business, right? That's you got your foot in the door with the boxing, right?
The Sting 2
The Sting 2.
with Carl Malden, Mac Davis,
Yeah.
Jackie Gleason.
Jackie Gleason, cool.
Yeah, what a jerk.
What a jerk.
Because of him, I do not ask actors to have a photo.
Really?
If they bring it up, great, we'll get a photo together. But I'm not going to because of him.
Because of him, huh?
I asked him if I could have a photo together. And back then, it was a Polaroid camera.
Right, yeah.
And so he kind of made this, yeah, go ahead. And so I tried to put my arm around him like we're buddies.
Yeah.
And got the photo taken by the costume designer.
Costume guy.
She hands me the Polaroid, and you got to wait 2-3 minutes for that sucker to develop.
Right. Wave
Yeah,
around
I
a
did
little
just
bit.
that. I'm air blowing on it. I went behind these buildings, backlot at Universal, and finally when it developed, I looked at it. I'm like, oh my god, the look on his face. He was just like, it was horrible. He hated me.
Yeah.
You could tell. I'm like, I can't show this to
Can't show this
anybody.
to anybody. Yeah.
And so I flicked it in one of the trash bins over there.
Really?
But yeah, they had come into my gym, the Left Hook Gym in Canoga Park, scouting, looking for places to film and to find background boxers.
Oh, right, okay.
And so next thing I get tapped on the shoulder and, hey, do you want to come work on this show? And for what? Then you be a background and all you do just what you're doing and you'll get paid to do it. I go, how much? They said, $75. I said, I'm in. So when I went and did that, they wanted to know if anybody could hit the speed bag. And I said, I can. And so I was showing off in the speed bag. And next thing I know, I see this guy named Ron Stein, who was the stunt coordinator. I didn't know it at the time. He and Mac Davis are walking around pointing out people. And
Right.
he approaches me and he says, hey, do you box? I go, yeah. I've had, 47 amateur fights and, Junior Olympics and the Golden Gloves and the Diamond Belt. And he goes,
Wow.
well, we've got a scene now that the director came up with. We need to have 2 people in the ring boxing. And if you'd be willing to do that, we could Taft-Hartley you. I go, what's that mean? He goes, well, you join the Screen Actors Guild, and then that makes you eligible if you want to
Right.
be a stunt man. I'm like, okay, God is aligning this up for me.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
He's like, the whole rodeo thing's not going to work, Corey, and you're not really that good of a boxer, although I only lost one fight that was a rematch, but there's a story behind that.
You only lost one fight
I only lost one that was a
out of
rematch.
the 47?
47, yeah.
Dang, dude.
Okay, that sounds impressive, right?
Yeah.
Well, my trainer, Ray Natara, who was managing me, was finding guys that sucked. They were like horrible.
Oh,
He
I
was
see.
building up my.
Your
we wanted
record.
to be 100 undefeated and then turn pro. Something about if you do that, you start making like 5,000 about as opposed to 500.
I see.
So he was trying to build up this, unbeknownst to me, he was building up my record to be undefeated by lining me up with all these guys that were just, I mean, like maybe it might be their third fight ever,
Oh, okay.
or their first.
I see.
So I was knocking all these guys out, and they just weren't good. And then when I'd get against someone like Frank Stallone, who was good, I'm like, wow. And he's like, yeah, there's a different, fighting pros is different. And so anyway, I don't, what were we talking about?
So you decided that boxing was not going to be
Yes.
the route for you.
And I thought to myself, I said, okay, this is something God said to me and said, okay, hey, Corey, you're going to do the stunt thing. Because I did entertain that idea. My dad did send me to a Kim Kahana's stunt school.
Oh, really?
In Chatsworth, for 6 weeks.
Wow.
And I had Hal Burton's brother, what do we call him, Bubba? It was Billy Burton's brother, Hal. Hal Burton.
Hal. Okay.
His nickname was Bubba. He would teach me to do saddle falls and jump off spot tramps because we didn't have air rams back then. And I was doing high falls and learning. And
Right.
And
This is 70 something?
yeah, this was I graduated in 80, so it was in 79, 80.
Okay, 79, 80, yeah.
And my father knew all kinds of stunt coordinators and stuff, but I was so like, I want to be a boxer or a professional bull rider, and I just wasn't good at the bull riding. I was an okay bareback rider, but I couldn't make a living at it. And then all of a sudden, I think God was like, hey, you need to go down this path and be a stunt man. And thank God for nepotism, because I remember I was at my mom's house in Hidden Hills, and I stopped by to visit her, and the Dukes of Hazzard was on, and my dad was there, Bob was there.
So you were watching it on the TV?
It was on.
Yeah.
No one was watching it, though.
He was watching it.
It was just on.
Is
My dad was in his office, and I just remember, and he saw me, hey, hi, because I stopped by.
Yeah.
And I go, oh, and just as I looked at the TV, there's that horn, and the General Lee's flying through the air, and I go, that's what I want to do someday. I want to jump that damn General Lee. And my dad goes, you want to work on the Dukes of Hazzard? I go, yeah, I'd love to. That's my dream, man, someday jump that General Lee.
Yeah.
My dad goes, I know the executive producer. I go, you do? He goes, Paul Picard. He hired me to do the Newlywed Game. So he gets on the phone. This is nepotism at its best.
Yeah.
He gets on the phone and calls him while the show's on TV. Has a conversation, hangs up, then says to me, he says, yeah, you're going to get a phone call from a gentleman named Paul Baxley, and he's the stunt coordinator, second unit director, and he's going to call you because you're going to start work on Monday.
What?
I know. That's what I said. I go, what? What do you mean? Next thing you know, phone rings. I answer it. Hey, yeah, is this Corey Eubanks? I go, yeah, this Paul Baxley. Hey, Mr. Baxley, how are you? He goes, well, first thing we got to do is, he goes, I understand you want to be a stuntman. I go, yes, sir, I do. Well, the first thing we got to do is get you your SAG card. I go, Paul, I just got that on the Sting 2 like 2 weeks ago. I've got my SAG card. He goes, oh, okay. Well, show up at Lake Sherwood Monday morning at 6:30. And he hangs up. I didn't know what he meant. Lake Sherwood. What do you, okay. Thanks to my dad, knowing the executive producer, got me on the show as the youngest stuntman hired by Warner Brothers Television at that time.
Wow.
But the thing was, I didn't deserve it. I didn't earn it. And I had nothing to bring to the table as far as skills or talent or anything. So all the other stuntmen that already worked on the show, they hated me. Who's this kid? Who's this guy? And I didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
And it was intimidating.
I'm sure.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And so they're like, okay, we can't fire him. Hey, let's see if we can kill him. Let's give him all the shit to do. So many of the experimental jumps and stuff I think I went to the hospital 4 times on that show.
God, really?
A lot of people don't know there was a fatality, killed one of the crew members on that show.
Really?
First time I ever saw cocaine, 7:30 in the morning, was on that show.
Wow.
Yeah, it was no parental supervision. We're on a 1,500-acre ranch out in Westlake, California, behind Lake Sherwood, and making shit up to do, and how are we going to do this and do that, and a lot of the swag method, you know about that?
The swag method? No.
The scientific wild-ass guess swag. So they would use that theory, and I was like one of the guinea pigs. and went to the hospital. Yeah, four times on that show. But learned, it was like my stunt school.
Yeah. That was, like you say, that's your on-the-job training right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what the blessing from it was, Paul Baxley was so intimidating. Just the way he looked, his mannerisms, and the way he'd stare at you, and the things he would say, and to this day, I've never been intimidated by anybody. Any stunt coordinator, any second unit director, any director, producer, whatever. I'm like, you don't know what I went through when I was an 18-year-old kid.
Because you got the worst of it right off the bat.
Yeah. In whatever stunt you did, if you did some stunt, if you shot a shot from center court and nothing but net, nothing. On to the next shot. Not even a good shot. Nothing.
Just, okay, moving on.
Moving on.
Wow.
If you got knocked unconscious, I remember Clifford Happy getting knocked unconscious on the show, laying there in the dirt, just breathing in dirt, and snoring.
Wow.
Face down in the dirt, and Paul just stepped right over him. Said, all right, we'll put the next camera over here. Let's get this guy out of the way. All right, we're going to put the camera over here. And I'm like, wow.
That's intense. That's crazy, man.
That's pretty callous.
Yeah.
A little insensitive, Paul. But yeah, and I thank God for Al Wyatt Jr. He was Bo Dukes, John Schneider's driving stunt double.
Okay.
Nobody has driven the General Lee on film more than Al Wyatt Jr. And the majority of the time, Bo Duke was driving, so it would be Alan. His full figure double was Russell Solberg, because he looked just like, skinny and looked just like John Schneider, but Alan was a little thicker. But the blessing that I got out of that was being his passenger, being able to sit next to him and
watch what he does
and get the feel. That feel of how he'd pitch that 69 Dodge Charger, and when he would hit the e-brake, and when he'd get on the throttle, and how he'd pitch the wheel, and what he would do, and also his sense of humor. He was always goofing around and practical jokes, and it was his way of diffusing the intensity, diffusing the pressure that Paul would put on everybody, and people would fold.
Yeah.
I think Paul thrived off that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
If he can get you to fold, even though you're a great athlete and you have the athleticism and you have the training and the knowledge and all that, he wanted to break you. But when you got that mindset that, no, and this is a stupid show about an orange car with an 01. Maybe it was a 10 and they just put it on backwards. I'm not sure. But yeah, and so I learned that, thank God, from Paul, from Alan.
That's cool.
Who's passed away. But he was... he actually got ordained as a minister.
Really?
And married my second wife and I.
Really?
And drove me in a
That's
General
awesome.
Lee.
Oh my gosh.
At my dad's ranch.
That is so cool.
And everyone's sitting there out in this big field under an oak tree, and he comes cruising in at 5-10 miles an hour in the General Lee. And just as he gets in front of everybody seated, he gasses it and does a big 360 spin, just spraying grass in everybody's face. Because it was funny.
That's beautiful. That's really cool, man.
Yeah.
Really cool story. Yeah. So how many years did you work on the Dukes of Hazzard?
I did 4. I did
4
4 years on that show. And we did, back then, we were doing 22 episodes a season.
Wow.
It was a great learning experience for me. And we got this reputation that I didn't know was even developing about the Duke boys, And we had stuntmen coming from Australia to come out to our set to see how we were setting up the jumps. And I think Mickey Gilbert, because they were getting ready to do Fall Guy, he came out. And but when you do something, the same vehicular stunt over and over and over, you get pretty accurate with it.
Yeah.
The same car, the same jump ramp, and we got pretty accurate. I got pretty accurate with how, getting over things and how far. Because the jump ramp that we used is different from what they're using today. It's not a launch ramp where it's very gradual, and it was more of a pop ramp. It's a compression ramp. It's very abrupt. 16 feet long, 4 foot tall.
Wow.
So when you'd hit it, it was like bouncing a baseball off of a piece of wood. It just...
Wow, so it just was boom.
Yeah, so you could look at the angle and you go, that's not the angle that you're going to travel. You're going to hit this thing and go up. So we could reach an apex in a shorter distance.
I see.
So we got a lot more height than you would think by looking at the ramp, and not as much distance, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
what was the purpose for using that style of ramp?
We didn't have much real estate. A lot of times we had a very short approach.
I see.
And you couldn't get up to that much speed.
Yeah.
So it was like
you needed something to really kind of catapult you up.
Yes.
More.
Reach a great height in a short distance. That was the whole game plan.
If you had to take a guess, how many times do you think you jumped that car on that show?
I don't know, maybe once. No, I'm kidding. 40 maybe.
Wow.
Maybe between high 30s and 40s. The guy who jumped the generally more than anybody was John Cade. Matter of fact, we called him Jumpin' John. Jumpin' John Cade. He was the guy. And then as the jumps got bigger and bigger, and it started, he started getting worn out, and I was just coming in. And Paul Baxley was looking for somebody at that point that could fulfill, replace John. Had the heart, the desire.
Yeah.
And so here I come along, young kid, thinking, and by the time I had come along and they'd already broke a couple backs, they had invented the jump vest with the bungee cord. So, and the vest that they had was too big for me. And so I had my own custom jump vest with the bungee cord over the roll bar. And being a little guy, I could be up off the seat that high and still have plenty of clearance.
I see.
From the ceiling.
Yeah.
And I've jumped over semi-truck trailers lengthwise. And the longest jump I ever did was 202 feet.
202 feet.
202 feet from ramp to ground, from ramp to asphalt. But Al Wyatt Jr. jumped over a train in Oxford, California on the show wearing flip-flops because he was a Malibu boy. He lived in Malibu. Always wore shorts and flip-flops.
Oh my gosh, dude.
He went 232 feet.
232 feet.
Over a train from ramp to ground. That was the last jump he ever did. He goes, I'm done. Wow. So I'm now at Nashville Motor Music Speedway, back when it was called that, and I think 06. I was working on Transformers, working all nights on Transformers, and flew out there to Nashville to jump the General Lee at a Dukes convention. 118,000 people show up. Wow. Not to see me jump the General Lee, to meet the cast,
The cast, yeah.
And see the stunt show that we put on. But, they wanted to meet John Schneider and Tom Wopat and Kathy Bach and James Best and all those. So they're all there.
This was shortly after the movie came out, probably, right? Because I think that was around that time.
Was it?
I think so, yeah.
It's funny because I jumped the General Lee for MTV for a promotional thing for that film.
Oh, yeah?
But didn't work on the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, I was offended because they wanted me to come down and audition to see if I could. Dan Bradley wanted me to come down to Warner Brothers and see if I could drive the General Lee. I go, what do you mean?
What?
I didn't know what he meant. Well, we wanted to see if you could, if you could slide a corner. I go, is this a joke? Are you serious? I drove it for 4 years.
Yeah.
For 4 years. I got to tell you something. One of the, maybe we'll get back to the jump thing in a sec, but imagine this. Imagine you're like, okay, I want to be a stunt driver. I'm working on the Dukes of Hazzard right now, but I really don't know how to drive that General Lee. We wrap about 4:35 in the afternoon, typically. It didn't get dark in the summertime until 8:30 or 9.
Right.
I'm walking to my car out in the parking lot, and Paul Baxley's walking, the guy who's, my boss, very intimidating man. He looks at me and stops and looks back, and he goes, he called everybody babe. He goes, hey, babe, do you want to learn how to drive the General Lee? I go, yes, sir, I do. He goes, all right, well, then stay behind. I'll tell Tommy Cimento, the mechanic, and you practice until it's dark.
Wow.
So I had a parking lot full at base camp of 30 General Lees, 20 or 25 Roscoe Enos cars, a couple Uncle Jesse pickup trucks, the Daisy Duke Jeeps, and Boss Hogg's Cadillac. And every day I would stay after. Everyone would leave. And then when they, all the tail lights would go, I'd go back, and there's Tommy Cimento making golden time. He's on overtime, loving it. Yeah, take your time, Corey. And I'd go practice and practice and practice and practice and practice. And there was one day,
what an opportunity.
I had picked out this one turn. It was, making pitching the General Lee and then going up this upper road. I was just wanting to master that one. That's what I'd do. I'd find one turn, one section of this 1,500 acre ranch that we would use these roads for the, and I knew which ones Paul used all the time. And they all had their own names for it, the Radiator Road and Upper Road and Water Trough Road. And I was practicing on this one turn. And that next Monday, Gary Baxley, who was doubling Wopat, was driving the General Lee. And he kept washing out. He kept going off into the ditch. He couldn't, and Paul was getting frustrated. He goes, "That's it." And he looks at me and he goes, "You been practicing?" I go, "Yes, sir, I have." He goes, "Okay, Gary, come here. Take off that shirt. Corey, put on that shirt." So he took the shirt off his nephew.
That was his nephew?
Yeah,
Wow.
Gary Baxley. Put it on me. I jumped in the car. They're all numbered, by the way. Everyone, all the General Lees, they may look the same, but they're different. Every single one of them. Some had 383, some had 440s. But the only way you could tell which one was what, on the back window, on the driver's side, Tommy Cemento had engraved with a glass cutter, a number. 08, 26,
Okay.
73, whatever.
Right.
And so you knew which car was what. So when I looked at it, I'm like, I've never driven this car. It was some number, 52 or something. And so anyway, long story short, I went up to the top of the hill. You ready to go? I got my walkie-talkie. Yeah, I'm ready to go. And come ahead. I came down. I'm like, this is the turn I was just practicing yesterday.
Wow. That's crazy, man.
What are the chances?
Yeah.
Pitched it, nailed it. Whoa.
Wow, what a great feeling, dude.
From after that day, I was Tom Wopat's stunt driver and not Gary. But I made an enemy.
Yeah, I'm sure.
He hated me
I'm sure. Yeah.
because of that.
I bet he did. Yeah. But that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So, well, you were going to go back to a jump. There was a specific jump that you were getting ready to talk about.
Yeah. The one at Nashville, Motor Music Speedway, was the last time I jumped. The General Lee was in 06.
Okay.
But the big thrill for me of doing that was the crow's nest. Al Wyatt Jr. was in the crow's nest.
Oh, really?
And I have a photo of me jumping, and I remember I'm at the same exact height as him, like he's watching, and he was the first one to come to me to pull me out of the car. And,
Oh, man.
yeah, so it was like,
cool.
I idolized him.
Yeah.
He
was
was so
there for you.
Yeah, to be able to jump right in front of him, was pretty cool.
That is cool. That's cool. Just curious, what are some of the modifications that they'd have to do to a car to be able to handle that kind of a jump impact?
On the General Lee,
Yeah.
all they would do is take the torsion bars and put them down all the way, so it's maximum height and the stiffness on the front end, and then they
really?
would put, if it was a 440, I think we put 375 of weight in the trunk, and if it was a 383, I think they put a little bit less. I don't know if that even mattered because I think the engine block is the same size,
Right.
but
And that would help it go more level through the
Level.
air. Yeah.
see the softer, because that was the General Lee's, the 69 Dodge Charger is a unibody. There's no frame. So when you would dart in and come in at a steep angle for your landing, it was very forgiving. It's like crushing a beer can. It absorbs. It's like a big crumple zone.
Huh.
But people were writing into the show and saying, wait a minute, I saw the front end buckling and crushing, and then the very next edit, the car's
Fine.
unscathed.
Yeah.
There's no damage. So then Paul Picard, the executive producer, asked Paul Baxley, can we start jumping the cars so it lands flat? So people were writing in complaining about the car's damage. And that's when the whole weight theory came along.
Okay.
And that's when guys started busting their backs. And we needed littler guys. If you're 6'3", 6'4", there's not enough headroom in there for you. So let's get guys like Corey. I'm only 5'9", and so I could get in a bungee cord. Like I said, I got 5 or 7 inches of travel before I start to get compression. So yeah, I was at that point. Those are the only things they would do. They'd put a full roll cage. The General Lee only had one halo.
Okay.
They'd put a full roll cage.
Yeah.
And then we just started putting Lexan in front of the windshield. I think like the last season or so.
Okay.
We didn't even have that. We didn't even have Lexan in front of the windshield.
Huh.
In a fuel cell.
In a fuel cell. Okay. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, pretty primitive. Just
Yeah.
kind of
Pretty primitive, but
suspension stock.
Wow.
I'm
sure they just had to figure all that out as they were going, and they must have figured out that this car could handle that sort of thing. I wonder if that went into the decision of what kind of car was there, or if it just kind of worked out that way.
Well, when you say handle, what do you mean? Because every time we jumped the car, it was done. It went to the crushers.
It went to the crusher.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Or did they? I was doubling Sylvester Stallone in 1985 on a movie called Cobra.
Uh-huh.
And I got a phone call from my friend Denny McCoy, whose father owned a heavy equipment company.
Uh-huh.
And they would build housing pads and whatnot. And he calls me. He says, "Hey, Corey. Hey, Denny. How you been? Good. Hey, I just got to ask you a question. What did you guys do with those General Lees after you jump them?" I go, "Well, because of insurance," this is all from what I'd heard. Mm-hmm. For insurance purposes, they'd have to take them to the crusher and they would crush them, and then because they could never resell them. He goes, "Oh." I go, "Why are you asking me?" He goes, "Well, we're out here at Lake Sherwood, and we're cutting some housing pads, and we just dug up a dozen smashed General Lees."
Wow.
I go, "What do you mean smashed? What do you?" "Well, they've been smashed by a bulldozer and they were buried.
Huh.
And they've got no engines and no transmission and no wheels, but the body is there. And the sheriff here, they ran the VIN numbers and they're all stolen."
What?
I go, "Why are you calling me?"
Yeah.
What do you think? So apparently what had been happening is Warner Brothers had a budget for, hey, I don't know what it was, $7,500 or something to buy a 68 or 69 Dodge Charger. Because the 68, all they had to do was change the lens glass on the back and it looked like a 69.
Okay.
And they were buying these stolen General Lees or stolen 69 Dodge Chargers, making them look like a General Lee, putting a roll cage in them. We would jump them. Then over the weekend, they would pull out the engine, the transmission, the wheels, because those rims were worth some money.
Yeah.
Sell those back to Warner Brothers and take the carcass up the canyon, crush it with a D9 bulldozer, and bury them.
Bury it. Wow. That's
so
crazy, man.
Yeah. Did they go to the crusher? Some did.
For debate, yeah.
Yeah. Some made it to the crushers, and some of them just went up the canyon.
Wow, that's crazy. Wow, what a cool backstory, man.
Yeah.
So after Dukes of Hazzard, you went on to do some other like Fall Guy and A-Team.
Yes.
During the 80s, kind of in that time.
The Fall Guy I only did the last season of Fall Guy because Gary Baxley, the guy who I said I made an enemy, took over that show as a stunt coordinator, second unit director.
Okay.
And I think he just needed me. And that's where we kind of reunited and came together, was because I did the last 22 episodes of Fall Guy.
You realized that you had become so skilled at what you do in the jumping that it would be an asset.
Jumping and driving. Yeah. And it's funny how too, when you're at that age and you get that confidence and then you're willing to just hang it out there and take certain risks and you're kind of believing a lot of what you're hearing from your peers and I'm like, this just seemed, and I think also it contributes to, on my father's ranch up in San Ynez, he had a ranch called Pepper Tree Ranch that was once an 11,000 acre ranch.
Wow.
When my dad bought it, it was only 250 acres, but these roads went out and they all looped right back to the ranch. So these gravel roads with all different camberns and twists and uphills and downhills. Wow. And when you're a 10-year-old kid and you're at your dad's ranch and he ain't there, and that ranch truck is over there, that GMC step side with the 3 on the tree.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm going to go drive that sucker. And you go, and you learn to power slide. And I learned to drive on those roads.
Yeah.
And that was my upbringing for like 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
My little XR75 motorcycle and that GMC step side truck. So that confidence carried over when I got onto the Dukes of Hazzard. I'm like, these are just like the roads behind my dad's ranch.
Yeah.
It's like driving on ball bearings, right?
Yeah.
But I had that. So a lot of that helped me out without me even knowing, and to give me the skills and the know-how. And a lot of that is symbolic to driving on wet asphalt, that same amount of, being slippery. So anyway, I had been developing this reputation for being a good driver. And Gary needed me. And so doing pipe ramps and jumps and driving for him on Fall Guy. And I went over and worked on A-Team a couple times, and then was doing the show Hunter.
Yeah, I remember Hunter.
Yeah, with Russell Solberg, and some good times.
Man, it must have been fun to be at that era, the heyday of the 80s, working on all those great shows, man, primetime shows.
Primetime.
Yeah.
Well, back then, the most popular format on television was the 1 hour action drama.
Yeah.
Action
they had
drama.
so many action drama shows at that
and
time.
then, I got to tell you a story real quick. The last day of Dukes of Hazzard canceled, right?
And how many years did that go? I can't
7.
remember. 7 years? Okay.
Yeah. I only did 4.
Okay.
But I think I did like 87 episodes because we did 22 each year.
Every year. Wow.
I don't know, it's 22 times 4. What's that?
That would be 88.
Okay, yeah, I think I did 87 episodes. But the last day, I was going to go and just say goodbye to Steve Purcell and Larry Fuentes, who were the special effects guys. And they were in their trailer. They had this big, long trailer, 53-foot semi-trailer, which was their shop out there. And now we're filming out in Valencia, California. And I went up in the trailer to say goodbye and just shake their hand. And they were drawing a blueprint for a pipe ramp. I go, what's that? They go, oh, we came up. We wanted to hopefully, we were hoping we could try this out on the show, but we have, the show got canceled. And I go, what is it? Because it's a pipe ramp that it's longer. Because the pipe we used on Dukes was very short and very abrupt. And they educated me that when the car going driver's side up is hitting the pipe ramp, and it's wanting so badly to flip the vehicle, but the back right tire is still on the ground, and it's fighting you because it's still on the ground.
Right.
And it's kind of twisting the chassis, but the chassis is saying, well, we still have resistance over here. So they said, we want to make the spine of the pipe ramp longer, like 13 feet long, so the whole chassis gets up onto the ramp before you hit the kicker. And then it should spin it like a bullet. And I'm like, wow, so you guys going to make that? They go, well, we're not now. I'm like, what are you going to do with those drawings? Nothing here. You can have them if you want. I said, thanks. And I took them.
Yeah.
And I made it. I welded a little bit because my dad's ranch were all pipe. And I've welded since I was a little kid, arc welding and stuff. And so, long story short, went and bought all the steel, and I made this pipe ramp, and I made it with a removable axle so I could tow it like a trailer.
Wow.
Had lights, and it went and had it registered. Had a trailer plate on it.
Cool.
First time we ever cracked it out was on Fall Guy. And I'll never forget when I was pulled up there.
Sorry to interrupt you. Did you have a chance to try it out before you took it out to the Fall Guy?
No.
No, really?
No, we were going to experiment on the show.
Okay.
Yeah, and I said, hey, Gary. Because Gary Baxley was directing second. I go, I got a brand new pipe ramp. Can we try it out? Yeah, bring it out. And when it showed up, the way the stunt guys were circling it, like, a bunch of bees, just kind of wondered, what the hell? And the kicker, oh, this is too dangerous. I go, how do you know? I go, no one's ever gone off it. How do we know?
Yeah.
Let's try it out.
Yeah.
So we did this, and this thing would snap a vehicle. We were getting a full rotation and maybe another 3/4 before you'd hit the ground.
Wow.
Things they'd never seen before. And matter of fact, on the Fall Guy show, I lined up on the ramp over a hill, and there were all these trees, and we placed the pipe ramp up against the back of a car that had a little propane popper on a pressure switch, and I'm supposed to come over the hill and fear to miss somebody and swerve and hit this thing and hit my pipe ramp and go off into this field. And but when I went to my number one by backing up over this hill, I couldn't see my pipe ramp. So I'm like, okay, I'll count the trees. 1, 2, 3. There's 8. The 8th tree from here, that's 8 trees. Well, there was this cute PA that was there to send me on back then, right? And so I'm talking to her, and and they're getting, you know how long it takes to
Yeah.
get cameras set. And it's like 45 minutes later. Okay, is Corey ready to go? And I'm like, oh, shit, are they ready? Yeah, okay, well, tell them, give them 2 minutes. I'm putting my helmet on and getting cinched in. I'm like, okay, the tree, was it that tree or that tree? Okay, we're rolling cameras. I'm like, oh shit, which tree is it? I'm trying to do my, so I come flying up over the hill, and I'd picked the wrong tree.
Oh no.
Yeah, I thought it was the tree down there. No, it was this tree. So I'm like, oh shit. And I'm cranking down on the right to try to get to the ramp. I'm doing like 70.
Wow.
I'm starting to like drift sideways, and then I went to straighten it out down on my left and just try to line up with the pipe ramp. But what I did, I took all the weight of the vehicle and transferred it to the driver's side, and then to the passenger side as I hit the ramp. This was all unintentional. And it hit and it rolled 8 times.
Oh my God.
Straight as a freaking arrow, right at the long lens. Bam, 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 bam. I remember looking out my passenger side window going, oh shit, there's the camera. Oh, it's closer. Oh my God, I'm going to hit the camera. And it stopped, like 30, 40 feet in front of the camera.
Wow. Dude.
And that's a cut. That's a cut. They come rushing in. I get out and everything. And on that day, there was a lot of stunt guys there. There was a lot of the Gary Davises of the world. A lot of guys are pretty up, because Baxley was, hiring all his friends and all those who were going to hire him.
Right.
And they're
Those
like,
were the shows to be on too.
What's that?
Those were like the shows to be on.
Oh God,
too.
yeah, it was huge. And I remember getting out, and I thought they were going to get mad at me because I almost hit the camera. We came so close, and they're like, "Oh my God, Corey!" Gary Davis goes, "Oh my gosh, Corey, the way you transferred the weight and then shifted it at the last second to hit the thing, that was incredible." I go, "Is that what I did?" I just thought I picked the wrong tree because he goes, "You didn't do that intentionally." I go, "No, I mean,
it's the PA girl's fault.
it's the PA girl's fault." But from that mistake that I made, that turned out to be, an exciting thing, I've taken that what do you call it, that game plan now. Whenever I do a pipe ramp, I won't go straight at it. I'll start off at an angle,
I see.
and at the last second, kind of, transfer the weight, and then turn into it, and I'll get, it looks just a little bit more. Is groovy still a word? I'm not sure.
Man, it's in my vocabulary.
Yeah, it has a little bit more flavor to it. I might get, if you and I both went off the same pipe ramp,
spice.
and I did that little trick, mine's going to look a little bit more spectacular because I'm transferring that weight. One of the things I would be teaching at my car crashing clinic is that little trick that I learned from a mistake that I made. But anyway, so that pipe ramp was, it was brought out on Fall Guy. That's where it made its debut.
Yeah.
And then
that's cool.
from there, my God, that if you could see the resume on that pipe ramp, you'd be blown away. Yeah.
Wow. You still have it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I got it back. Yeah.
Cool.
I had it loaned out to some guys and didn't see it for years.
Wow.
And then, because it was,
that's got to be 40 years? Close to?
Yeah.
Probably? Yeah.
Easily 40 years.
Wow, man. That's cool. Yeah. Yeah. So have you made a more that are like that, basically same thing or a little different? Or
Well, what I do is when, say something like, not too long ago, Ben Scott called me to come to Atlanta, where we are, and do a pipe ramp on a show at night. And he's like, well, can't you just send me the specs of your pipe ramp and the effects guys can make it here? I go, yes. If we use the same exact specs, the same height, distance, length, everything, then I can be accurate with that pipe ramp because I've been off that thing so many times. But if you give me it's like aiming a rifle. If you're off just a little bit, or you're too much up or down, where the bullet's going to hit, 60 yards out there is completely different. So if I get hired to do a pipe ramp and I say, hey, can we use my specs? Don't have to use my ramp. Just give it to the effects guys. Let's make it this length and this height and the kicker at this degree. Then I could be more accurate. Pretty darn accurate.
You're right.
But if you want to use somebody else's because you owe your buddy a favor and some money because they want a rental on the pipe ramp, bring him with you because that person's going to have to tell me place the pipe ramp because I don't know. I only know about the specs going off of mine.
Off of yours. Interesting.
If you need to be accurate. If you just, hey, take it off into the field or out into the parking lot and where it goes, it doesn't matter. Great.
Right.
But if we got to get over, hey, yeah, the police car skids in here. You need to clear the police car and hit, but don't go into that building because we don't own it.
Okay.
Then I need my pipe ramp or my specs.
Yeah. Cool. So I'm going to take us on into probably like around 90s, 2000 era. Now, I saw that you doubled on Tom Cruise and Sylvester Stallone a couple times. But what are some of the shows that you remember, some of the big ones you remember from that era that you worked on?
Well, without a doubt, the biggest break I think in my career was doubling Stallone on Cobra in 1985.
Okay.
And I had just been working on a TV show called Hollywood Beat. Doubling a great guy, great actor named Jay Acavone, and working for John Moyo. And it was the first time I'd ever quit working for someone. And I remember telling John, I'd rather just be your friend than be your employee. And basically quit working for him on that show.
Wow.
And I remember my wife was like, you just sabotaged your career. And she was like chewing my ass in the kitchen. And back then we had the phones on the wall, and it would ring.
Yeah.
It wasn't a cell phone. It was a phone.
Phone. Yeah.
And it's ringing and ringing. I'm like, are you done? You done having your little temper tantrum? Because I'm going to answer the phone. So I answer the phone, and it's Terry Leonard.
Oh.
Terry Leonard, that voice of his. Hey, Eubanks, Leonard. Mr. Leonard, how are you, sir? He goes, hey, you available? I need you to come double sly driving this 50 Merc. We're going to do a movie called Cobra. And I remember looking over across the room. I said, looking right at my ex-wife. She's my ex-wife now. She's still a great human being. I have nothing negative to say about her at all. But this was just one of those moments in our marriage.
Yeah.
Looking at her like, ha, yeah, Mr. Leonard, I'm available. I'll come. Oh, Sly Stallone? Isn't he the biggest, most famous actor in the world? So, yeah, I got to go and do that. That was
awesome. Wow.
So that was huge for me. And so I did stunts for Sly on Cobra.
Now, as I'm trying to remember, there was a chase scene in there, and they had, I forget where it takes place, but they had this road, right, that had like all of these.
Venice, California.
Up and down.
Myself and Terry Jackson.
Yeah.
Jumping off those things.
Yeah.
Terry Jackson and I doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Good times. And then I had to jump out of a parking structure and down in Long Beach and fall behind Terry Jackson, but I can't see Terry because he's on a lower road. It's only like 16 feet down, but I can't see him, so I got to be cued when to go.
Wow.
But in the 50 Merc, that thing was a heavy car, and I got to come and there's a pillar, so I had to pass the pillar and make a hard left-hand turn, which is going to take my right front tire off the edge first. The torque of the engine wants to torque that way. Me making a left-hand turn, my front right tire coming off first. Everything's telling me with what I know about jumping cars at that stage in my career was that we might roll over. And I'm like, how do I say this to Terry Leonard? How do I tell him I don't think this is a good idea? So he goes all of a sudden over the walkie-talkie, hey, Eubanks, come down here on the street. I need to talk to you about camera placement. So I went down on the street. And he's looking at the thing, and I said, hey, Terry, I got a concern. He goes, tell me, what is it? And I told him just what I told you, all those elements. It's physics. I'm going to be coming in and making a hard left-hand turn, and just the torque of the engine and the front tire coming off. Everything's telling me that this car is going to want to roll over. He goes, damn it. He goes, what do we do? I said, well, just an idea is if we put one mini ramp there for my passenger side, as I come around and make that left-hand turn, I could go up that ramp and it might neutralize the, great, make it happen. So that's what we did. But then when it landed so hard on the nose, it broke the engine mounts and the motor got thrown forward, which pulled the throttle linkage.
Oh, wow.
But it also pushed up the floorboard into my pedals. So when I went to hit my brake pedal, it was already to the floor.
Wow.
And all I heard was the engine wide open. Now, I'm strapped in there because the guy, Kenny Bozet, who built the roll cage, who's 6'3", put the seat back where he wanted it to be. I couldn't even reach the pedals.
Wow.
Ben Scott and I had to take pieces of 2x4 and duct tape and stack up the gas pedal and the brake pedal so I could reach them. There was a kill switch. You know the high beam switch on those old cars on the floor?
Yeah.
We converted that into a kill switch. Learned that on Dukes of Hazzard. When you call it a kill switch, it's not called a bring back to life switch. It's a kill switch. Once you're dead, you're dead. Well, they wired this thing that if you hit it, it's off. If you hit it again, it's on. Hit it, it's off. Hit it, it's on.
I see.
I only know a kill switch as it kills the engine. So I come flying out of this thing, it hits. I go to hit the brakes. I'm like, why isn't it stopping? And I'm like, I kind of glanced down at it, but I'm like, it's not stopping. I look in front of me, there's a chain link fence coming to the Long Beach Freeway.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm stomping on the kill switch, and I'm hearing, whoa, 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 because
it's going off and on, and on.
And I left it on. Through the chain link fence into oncoming traffic. It's like a real life video game. And I'm seeing vans coming at me and cars, and now they're stopping. And I'm like, I can't weave through them because they've created a wall of vehicles.
Right.
So I saw
this is on the freeway, real traffic.
Yeah.
Wow.
But for a split second, I thought, oh my God, they think of everything they held traffic. It was just a break in traffic.
It was just a break in
traffic. It was just a break in traffic when I came through the chain link fence and then into the oncoming. And I'm like, oh no, they didn't hold traffic. This is not good. And then when I saw I had nowhere to go, I saw the K-rail in the center, from the two southbound and northbound. And so I cranked the steering wheel and stuffed it into that K-rail. And it's just going, whoa, whoa. But now I could hit my 5-point and I could reach up. And because when I'm strapped in, I couldn't even put it in gear. Ben Scott had to reach in and put it in gear. I couldn't reach the ignition, the key.
Right, yeah.
But then when I was hit into that K-rail, I was able to reach up and turn off the engine to climb out to be surrounded by the Long Beach Police Department. Wow. Hanging onto my shoulder. We're going to use an example because you guys don't have a permit to use this freeway. I'm like, are you serious?
Huh.
So then Duncan Henderson, who was the first AD, came up and goes, oh, no, because they wanted my license, and I don't have my license on me. I'm in my fire suit, and stuff, and we need your license. And Duncan Henderson's like, no, I'm the first assistant director. This is my set. This is my responsibility. Corey, go away. Go find a place to hide. And he started talking to them, and I snuck off. And but yeah, so doubling Stallone on Cobra, doubled him on Get Carter. One night, I think, on Tango and Cash. 35 years go by. Haven't seen Sly, haven't spoken to him, and I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma, doing Tulsa King.
Tulsa Kings, yeah.
Doubling Sly. Cool. Hadn't seen each other in 35 years.
Oh, man.
I'm sitting in a vehicle that he's supposed to get into, and I'm dressed just like him.
Yeah.
And he's like maybe 6 or 7 feet away outside my open window talking to the director. The director's giving him an instruction. Here's what I want from you, Sly. And he keeps looking at me. He's talking to listening to the director, and he'd look at me and look at the director. And finally, the director finishes what he had to say, and he walks away, and Sly looks at me, and then I look at him, and I go, didn't you do a boxing movie years ago? He goes, oh, Corey, I thought that was you. And I get out, and we give each other a big hug. And he goes, I swear to God, he goes, you're still doing this? I go, I'm still doing this.
Exactly.
You were doing this when I was in junior high, Oh, that's right. So we sitting there talking about his brother, Frank, and whatnot. Then what was funny is I was also there with Eric Norris. We were working for Freddie Poole, but Eric Norris was there.
My wife just worked on that. And I'm working on it next week.
On Tulsa King?
Kings, yeah.
Oh, great. You're going to have a great time.
He's a great guy, man.
He is. Yeah. Freddie Poole. He's so nice and so classy. You're almost suspicious. Right?
It's got to be something wrong with this guy.
You can't be this whole perfect package of nice guy, good-looking man, successful. There's got to be a flaw somewhere.
There's gotta be.
I don't know what it is. I can't find it, but... So I'm there with Eric, and all of a sudden, his dad, Chuck Norris, calls.
Chuck Norris. Yeah.
And Eric's like, Dad, you won't believe who I'm here. Oh, yeah, here, hey. Hands the phone, and so there's the first AD like, wait, we got to shoot. Right? And you know how the urgency is on set. We got to shoot. No. Mr. Stallone and Mr. Norris are having a conversation. Just going to have to wait.
You're going to have to wait. When Chuck Norris calls to talk to Sylvester Stallone,
Yeah.
the world waits.
Yeah. The cameras do not roll.
Yeah.
So back in those days, double and slide, that was a huge thing for me. And then also interwoven with that, I was hired by Walter Scott to double Tom Cruise on a movie called Far and Away.
Far and
I
Away,
also
remember
doubled him on Mission Impossible 2. At Tom's request, I came to double him on a film in New York called Vanilla Sky.
that. Okay, yeah.
But we had a falling out because I went on the Howard Stern show. You know who that is?
I knew, yeah.
I did a Howard Stern episode where they call it episode or whatever.
I think so. I'm not sure, but yeah.
Yeah, because they found out that I said, "Hey, yeah, I did a I did a rap song."
A rap song.
Yeah, I did a rap song that was called Hollywood Stuntman, and in the lyrics of it, I mentioned, hey, I did stunts for Cruise and Sly Stallone, but they say they did them on their own.
Oh, I've heard this song.
Yeah.
I've heard this song.
Did flicks with Howard, Crow, Wu, and Lee. And that's right, I'm the one who jumped the General Lee. It was all for fun. I had my drummer, Ron Wixo,
Yeah.
he was in a band called Foreigner.
Yeah.
And he came up with this riff to do, we got to do a rap song. I'm like, I kind of do country songs. I don't do rap, but yeah, it'll be fun. So anyway, I didn't know what would get me.
Awesome.
Yeah, I didn't know what would get me in trouble. So I do this song, and they bring me on the Howard Stern show to talk about. And Robin, who apparently didn't like me, she's like, how can you claim that you did stunts for Tom Cruise when we all know he does all his own stunts?
Oh my God.
I go, well, Robin, he doesn't do all his own stunts. And she goes, are you saying he's a liar? I go, well, Robin, I'm saying he is whatever that word is that you want to insert, that you use when you're saying that someone's not telling the truth. A liar, a fibber, full of shit, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
That's the word you interject.
You just put it in there.
You put it in
Love
there, whatever makes you happy.
I got to remember that one.
Yeah, and so Tom heard about that, and now we're working on Night and Day in Boston, Massachusetts, I think it was. Cameron Diaz, Tom Cruise. And now it's changed. I'm not his stunt double. He's using Casey O'Neill. Because there's been a lot of guys who, and I said that on the Howard Stern show, I go, a lot of guys.
Yeah.
Buddy Joe Hooker on the original Top Gun movie. Keith Campbell, Jimmy Roberts.
Keith Campbell did, yeah.
You know, this Corey Eubanks guy. There's a lot of guys who have doubled Tom Cruise and done stunts for him. Yes, did Tom do a lot of his own stunts? Yes. Not as much as Jackie Chan, but yes, he did a lot of his own stunts. Would have made a phenomenal stuntman, honestly, I think.
Yeah.
Courageous, talented, but give credit where credit is due.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're now back there in Boston, I think it was, and he won't look at me, he won't talk to me, but he's deliberately making flybys. He's putting himself in front of me and making sure I see him, and we're close. And finally one day I go, hey, Tom, I go, I'm Corey Eubanks. He goes, I know who you are. I go, is there a problem? Well, and he comes to me quietly. He goes, I don't really appreciate what you said on the Howard Stern show. I go, what did I say? He goes, you said that I don't do all my own stunts. I go, you don't. What do you think Casey O'Neill's here for? He goes, no, Corey, you don't understand. When I'm doing a stunt, I'm doing my own stunts. I said, Tom, that's a play on words.
Yeah.
The rest of the world, the way we perceive it, is that you don't have a stunt double. And what you don't understand is that those of us who have been, had the privilege and the honor to do stunts for you are pretty damn proud of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, man, I would never want anybody to think that. I go, then why don't you go on the Howard Stern show and fix it?
And fix it, yeah.
And he just walked away. So,
Wow.
yeah. So, but yeah, so
Good
I was.
for you, Corey.
What's that?
I said, good for you, man.
What, being honest?
Yeah. Well, I mean, being honest, but also sticking to your guns and saying something and standing up for it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I was just brought up, you give credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
And hey, the other thing I learned in this business, if you make a mistake, own up to it. Throw your hand in the air and say, hey, that was my fault. Mm-hmm. What that gets you is then at some other part in your career when something is not your fault, even though it looks like it's your fault. And you go, guys, that wasn't me. They'll believe you. But if you're that guy that says, that wasn't me, you're the only one in the shot. How could it not be you? But to say, hey, I screwed up.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, my God, I've been doing this for 43 years. the IMDb is way off. I've
sure
done
it
like
is.
160 films. I've done over 1,000 episodic television shows.
Wow.
And because as a stuntman, you might work on it one day,
Right.
and it all adds up. I even had a producer one time accuse me of lying. I go, what? How could you have worked? And I had to educate him. I might work on 4 different projects in 1 week. Mm-hmm. 1 day, 2 days. Mm-hmm. So our resumes are pretty lengthy.
Right.
But you learn a lot, through all of these years of doing stuff, and just to know that when you screw up, it's a horrible feeling that eventually you get used to. That's what I always say. It's like being sick, and you're like, sick to your stomach. It just makes for the ride home take longer. And you're like, God dang it, how did I screw up today? Man, I know it looked like it didn't look like I screwed up, and I did. Maybe they'll think it was the effect. No, it was me. And then you kind of go, well, it wasn't so bad.
Hey everyone, that concludes this episode with Corey. But we're going to have 2 more coming out back to back. Instead of doing one long 3-hour episode, I decided to do 3 1-hour episodes. So please remember to subscribe so you get that notification. And please remember to like and share. It really helps the channel out, and I appreciate it. And we'll see you on the next one. Peace.